Hey guys, so I'm back again to talk about my favorite novelist and short story writer. His name is Haruki Murakami. I've talked about a couple of his books in the past with Sputnik Sweetheart, The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle, um, and now I'm going to talk about a book of short stories he's written called The Elephant Vanishes. Um, this is, I want to say it's the first short story collection I read by him. And I read it a few times over the years, including as recently as last year. And I'm just going to talk a little bit about the stories and kind of what they're about and why I like them. So, the first story is called The Wind Up Bird and Tuesday's Women, which is a precursor to The Wind Up Bird Chronicle. Um, on its own, it's kind of just a bizarre scene about this guy looking for his missing cat while his wife is at work, and he meets this young girl. But it's eventually fleshed out into the uh, labyrinth of twists and turns and deep themes that becomes the Wind Up Bird Chronicle. But on its own, it's a very interesting slice of life little piece. There's another story called The Fall of the Roman Empire, the 1881 Indian Uprising, Hitler's invasion of Poland, and the Realm of Raging Winds, which it basically just feels like an exercise to tie all the subjects together in a brief little sketch, and then the story itself really has nothing to do with any of those things, and that may be part of a joke. Barn Birding is a weird one, about a guy who knows this girlfriend who knows this other guy who likes to go out and randomly burn barns in the middle of nowhere. The Little Green Monster is about a titular monster who comes up in the backyard of this housewife one day, proclaims his love to her. So, as you can tell kind of from these little synopses I'm giving, this is a very weird book. These are some strange stories. But the thing about Murakami is he's able to write the most dreamlike or surreal scenarios in a very compelling and realistic way. He takes these flights of fancies and renders them in basic everyday language and describes them as straight as possible. And that's what I like about him. I like that he takes these odd scenarios and then proceeds to realistically describe what would happen if this scenario happened, and what the ramifications for these things would be, and how it would make people in these situations feel. And the ones I mentioned aren't even my favorites in the collection. There's one story in here. Let me look for it. Maybe it's on the first page. Sleep. Sleep is my favorite story. And this is about a housewife who lives a pretty mundane life. She has a husband who goes to work and a boy who goes to school. And one day, abruptly, she just stops sleeping. She doesn't know why. She doesn't feel tired the next day. But night after night, she just stays up without her son and husband noticing, reading long classic works of literature, drinking wine, and amazingly doesn't feel any kind of signs of slowing down or tiredness or exhaustion. And the more she's up in these nights, the more she starts contemplating things and starts really looking at her life and realizes that she feels kind of trapped. She feels kind of trapped in this mundane role of housewife, playing the role of mother, playing the role of wife. And she realizes that this isn't who she wanted to be. And she's not where she wanted to be when she was young. And there's a sadness to that. And there's a sadness to all these stories. Even like the more fanciful ones, like the Little Green Monster. He proclaims his love to the housewife, the monster. And she doesn't reciprocate and sends him away, and he's heartbroken. And it's this comical little bit that there's some weighty sadness to it. And it could be read, and this may be a little bit of a stretch, but it could be read as a commentary on unrequited love and how it makes people feel. And there's all those things and more. There's stories I didn't even talk about in here, including the titular story, which is a very fascinating, surreal story. But I do highly recommend The Elephant Vanishes. It's a great book, great stories. by a very, very talented writer, and I'm glad that he's getting the international recognition he deserves, because he is a writer for the ages. He's a real writer. He writes real literature. He writes stories that touch upon real things and themes and feelings, and presents them as kind of mirrors to ourselves. And all of his novels and stories are like that. They kind of take parts of ourselves that we see in ourselves and put them in these situations. And that's what all good literature does. But anyways, that's why I like this book. That's why I recommend it. So check out The Elephant Vanishes. It's easily available on Amazon. You can buy both physical and you can buy a copy for your Kindle. You can also find it in Barnes & Noble and everywhere else. He's not an obscure author by any means, but he's definitely my favorite. So check it out. I'll be back with another video soon. Later.